Hello, everyone. Good morning to you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, depending on whichever part of the world you are tuning in from. Well, should I say Happy New Month to you all? Well, I'd already said that last week, but we're still within the vibe of the new month as we're still within the first phase of the new month. So, Happy New Month to everyone in the house. Well, before we kickstart the session, I would like to confirm that we are all on the same page. So, if you can see my screen clearly without freezing, and of course, you can hear my voice without distortion, please type in hi in the comment section as this will inform me that we are all on the same page here. So I would like to see some feedbacks in the comment section as regards to the quality of the audio visuals. So I'm trying to load up my comment section to see if there are any feedbacks. And what do we have here? All right, so I can see Hell 2. I hope I pronounced that correctly. 796 6422. Lithuania, good morning to you too. Thank you very, very much. Hello, Carrie. Good morning to you, and thank you very much. All right, so I think with this handful of feedbacks, I want to take this as a confirmation that we are good to go this morning. And it's on this note I welcome you once again to yet another promising edition of the Extreme Speed Live. My name is Sheriff Daramola, and for the next 1 hour, I am going to be your host, where we shall be looking at the current market structure in anticipation of the New York session. And in fact, in preparation for this today's session, I have conducted a comprehensive analysis of the current market structure, that is the asset I'm going to be sharing with you on my watch list, utilizing simple parameters such as trend lines, key levels, and of course chart patterns to gain valuable insight into the historical price movement of these assets. Well, interestingly, I have simple setups on 5-6 major assets which we shall be looking at today. And of course, today being the first trading day of the week, if you do have any financial assets you want us to look at, well, this is the most appropriate time for you to churn it in the comment section below. It could be cryptocurrency, currency pairs, commodities, option, whichever one you have there, churn them in, and trust me, if I can choose them, we shall be monitoring them throughout the course of the week. And for those who are joining us for the first time, you are highly welcome on board. And you might be asking, what is it that we are doing here? Well, we gather here in anticipation of the New York session on a daily basis, where we come to review our existing positions and at the same time position ourselves strategically in such a way that we can capitalize on any trading opportunities during the New York session. And of course, we do this on a daily basis, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time. And in fact, I encourage you to stay tuned in and be part of our subsequent sessions, as the more time you spend with us, the better you get in understanding how the strategy works, and eventually be able to use the information you have gathered here to make your own independent trading decisions. So once again, you are highly welcome on board. So as usual, let's dive right into the business. And the first thing we normally do in the morning is to check on the economic calendar, as we all know that these fundamental factors often manifest on the charts in technical patterns and price movements. By monitoring the economic calendar, we can identify potential correlations between key economic releases and specific technical patterns, hereby giving us valuable information that will make us position ourselves in such a way that we can capitalize on any potential move prior, during, and even after this event. So on the economic calendar, we normally focus on high impact events from the economies on our watch list. So based on the one I have on my watch list right now, we shall be looking at anything from the United States, the United Kingdom, and of course the Japanese economy. And if you have any instrument you want us to look at, you drop in the comment section. Then we shall be reviewing the fundamental factor that will be affecting that instrument. So for today, Monday, September 4th, we do not have any high impact event from any of these economies. So what I did here is to include the medium impact event so that we can have something to look out for ahead of the New York session. Now, when I did this, I was able to pull out something from the United Kingdom, and that is the BRC like-for-like retail sales. And well, this measures the changes in the actual value of retail sales from participating companies with invaluable management information on a regular and reliable basis. Well, this index here shows the performance of the retail sector in general, and of course, a high reading is considered as positive for the United Kingdom's economy, and anything a low reading is considered as negative. Now, if we look at the previous data for the month of July, it came in at 1.8%, and we do not have a consensus yet as to what the economies are looking forward to. But in such case scenarios, we normally see a consensus figure come in about a couple of hours into the event. So let's see how that is going to play out, and we shall of course sniff through the current market structure to see how participants especially on the GBPUSD market anticipate this event. So with that being said here, let's dive right into the business. And as usual, the first asset we are going to be looking at this morning, let's see, is going to be the US Oil Spot. And in fact, I have a very simple setup here that we shall be using to guide our trading activity for this for today, and in fact for the first half of the week. But before we go into the details here, it is appropriate that we all have an holistic perspective into what is really going on in this market from a long-term perspective. And in fact, for those who have been with us on the US also spot so far in the last 1 month, it has been quite an interesting bullish momentum, which of course we took advantage of, scooping significant amount of profits along the line. Now, first and first, let's scale up into the higher time frame. And on the higher time frame, let's use the 4 hours time frame instead. It is quite clear that price action has been on a strong bullish momentum, especially since the beginning of the month of July. And in fact, we have a trend line here which emphasizes the strength of the buyers at this point. As you will see, after connecting the series of higher lows, we have this trend line, as you will see here. But unfortunately for the buyers, we saw price break down the trend line during the mid-month of August, as you will see here. But as soon as price came back into the $78 level, we saw another wave of buying pressure resuming from that level, pushing price further to the upside. So besides the trend line here, we have a couple of other levels which we shall be using to guide our trading activity for this week. And in fact, the most important one here is the $84 level, a level which was a selling niche during the month of August, and not until the first day of this month we finally saw the breakout of the $84 level. So the $84 level here is going to be serving as my key level for this week. And for those who have been with us for a while now, you know how we use our key levels in this community, especially when we have a breakout of the key level, we want to be looking out for patterns and structures that will support the idea of buying that asset. The only condition that will make us sell is when price breaks down that key level. So our center of focus is going to be above the key level based on this current structure. And of course, we saw what happened here on Friday. We saw the significant breakout of that structure, and price went to as far as the $85.50 level before we begin to see some signs that sellers are trying to push price to the downside. So what we are going to be doing right now is to see how market participants have been reacting to this peak where price action got to last week, to see if the uptrend continuation is going to be the order of the day, or are we going to be seeing signs where price will come back to retest the $84 level that was broken in anticipation of an uptrend continuation. Now, for us to have a better perspective into what is going on within this range, we will be scaling down into the 1 hour time frame. Now, when we scale down into the 1 hour time frame, we begin to see things more clearly. Well, the first thing here is since the beginning of this month, price has been bullish. Of course, we saw the breakout of that $84 level, and in fact, I have an ascending trend line here that we shall be using to guide our moves. And of course, when price remains above the ascending trend line, we look out for patterns and structures that support the idea of buying that asset. Now, since price still remains above that ascending trend line, are we going to be having a scenario where price will come back to respect the trend line to incite an uptrend continuation, or are we going to be seeing higher highs and higher lows in that regard? So what I did here was to take note of how participants have been reacting to that peak around the $84 zone. Now, this is what I was able to come up with when I was trying to decipher what our next line of action will be for today's session. Now, what I was able to note here is the week has started on a strong bearish momentum, but price still remains within a range where we can see confined within the $84.45 level and the $85 area, to emphasize the level of indecision at this point in time. And of course, as technical traders, you know how we do it. Whenever price action falls into this kind of range, we want to exercise some patience, waiting for a signal to come, either in the form of a breakout of the resistance line to give us an opportunity to buy, or the breakdown of the support line to give us an opportunity to sell. Now, with the scenario we have here, with a beautiful range therein, I want us to first of all take into consideration the potentials of buyers. And the reason why that is simply because of the fact that price action has been strongly bullish in the last couple of months. And in fact, during the course of last week, we saw this impulsive move that brought price into this level. So we have a range right now which has a potential of transitioning into a trend continuation pattern in the form of a bullish rectangle, where the breakout of the $84.45 level will be all we need to be part of the uptrend continuation. So to join the uptrend scenario here, I'm having a buy stop order somewhere right above the $84.45 level to capitalize on that bullish uptrend continuation. So that is how I'm going to be looking out for buying opportunity. And in fact, this is the first scenario of buying opportunity from this current structure. Now, in as much as we're looking out for the breakout of the $84.45 level, you know how we do it in this community. We also want to keep tabs with the opposite direction. Now, if it so happens that price breaks down the $85 level, a level which has been the support line for the week, and of course this level was respected too during last week's Friday's trading session. Now, if price breaks down this level, we might likely be seeing a retracement phase. Now, if price breaks down, remember that we are not going to be getting too excited here. We are not having a sell stop order right there. Instead, we will need some confirmations to happen before we jump into a sell position. And one thing we also want to take note of is that a breakdown here could still turn out to be a false breakdown. So indeed, we will need confirmations to happen. And if we are going to be looking for confirmation, we shall be scaling down into the lower time frame. So as soon as we sight the breakdown of that support line, we scale down into the 5, 10 or 15 minutes time frame to look out for signs that truly sellers are going to be dictating the pace. All we want to see is buyers finding it difficult to climb back above the $85 level. And of course, this would reflect on the chart as price coming back, retesting the structure where continued selling pressure will welcome selling opportunities here. Now, there is a caveat to this sell position here. Now, this is going to be more or less a counter trend opportunity if price breaks down the $85 level after considering the impulsive move that we witnessed during the later part of last week. So if a breakdown of the $85 level, it will be initially considered as a retracement, and this will now depend on how price action will be reacting to this ascending trend line. So if price gets into this ascending trend line, that is after selling below the $85 level, as soon as price tests the ascending trend line, let's ensure that we move all stop losses on that sell position to break even. Let's secure the existing positions while we wait and see how the market is going to be reacting to this ascending trend line. Now, depending on what happens around the ascending trend line will determine if we are going to be adding more sell position or getting ready to join an uptrend scenario. Now, for us to join an uptrend scenario here, we want to see buy pressure around this area, giving us signs that price is about to respect that ascending trend line one more time to incite an uptrend continuation. However, if price breaks down the ascending trend line, then a retest of structure will be all we need to confirm that we are about to see a downtrend continuation, hereby giving us more opportunity to add more sell position to our existing trade. And in fact, to make things a little bit more easier for us to capitalize on opportunities around that area, it is appropriate that we have a level around that area to work with. Now, if we look at the structure closely, I think we have something around the $84.50 level. So let's mark this level out. Let's label it on our chart. So we have the $84.50 level, which also shares a beautiful confluence with that ascending trend line. So if price gets into the structure, you'll see how this level 2 has been a major buying niche during the Friday's trading session. Remember, this was a buying niche at some point. So if price will drop below the 85 level, then we shall wait to see how the market would react to this level to decide if we are going to be joining an uptrend continuation or join a sell-off in this market. So that is how we are going to be managing our position on the US All Spot today. So our center of focus is basically between the $84.45 level and the $85 area, where depending on how price action reacts to the structure, the breakout of the resistance line will welcome buying opportunities, while the breakdown retest of the support line will welcome selling opportunities. And please note that the sell position here must be duly monitored. As soon as price moves significantly, well, ensure you move your stop losses, secure the positions while we wait and see how the market is going to be reacting to both the $84.50 zone and of course the ascending trend line. So this is how we are going to be monitoring and managing our position on the US All Spots for today. So I encourage you to mark out these levels on your chart, as you shall be needing them as a reference point to make your independent trading decisions during the New York session today. If you have any questions whatsoever as regards to my explanation, or you need me to do any further clarification to this current market setup, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions whatsoever before we move on to the next financial asset. All right, I see your comment, 88388069. Good morning to you and glad to have you around. I see your comment, Dino. I see your comment, Khan. And let me state here quickly, I see your comments all and glad to have you around. And let me state here quickly that any comments in the comment section that refers you to contact him or her personally is not from Extreme Speed. Extreme Speed will not ask you to contact him or her, with a private mail or private message or private social platform. So please be aware of scammers in the comment section. So with that being said here, and in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page. So we shall be moving right into the next financial asset on our watch list. So the next financial asset on our watch list for today is going to be the USTech100, popularly known as the NASDAQ. Well, on the NASDAQ, for those who have been part of this journey in the last couple of months, last couple of weeks, we have been doing pretty well on the NASDAQ, as you will see. For those who have been with us since last week, we sold, we bought, we sold, and made significant amount of profit. So let's see if we can replicate what we did here last week. Now, before we go into the details, I already have a buy position running at this point, which I'm still not sure if it's going to be valid for at least for the first half of the week, but I will be sharing with you what led to the ideas in a moment. Now, before we do that, let's scale up into the higher time frame and let's look at things from an holistic standpoint. Now, my analysis started from the daily time frame, and for those who have been with us for a while now, you're going to be familiar with what the daily time frame is looking like. Of course, we saw here that price action has been on a strong bullish momentum since the beginning of the year, and in fact, we have an ascending trend line to further buttress the strength of the buyers here after connecting the series of higher lows. Now, last week, price in the last couple of weeks, price action respected that ascending trend line to push price further to the upside, as you will see here. Now, our center of focus is going to be around this area. Now, the first thing first here is this trend line, which I would like to highlight here, which of course it appears it has been broken, as you will see around this area. That was around the 15,400 level, 450 level, somewhere around that area. So let's scale down into the lower time frame to see what is going on around that trend line. So we are at a crucial juncture in the market here where price action could respect the trend line to incite a sell-off. It's a very possible expectations here. Or price break out the trend line, retest it to incite an uptrend scenario. So we are at a crucial moment in the market. So we want to see how the market is reacting to that zone. And I think I have something on the 4 hours time frame I would love to share with you. And that is the, hold on a second. I think on the daily time frame, the key level, I think a 15,450 makes quite a lot of sense. So I'll do some readjustment here. 15,450, right? Okay. So 15,450 is where our key level for the week is going to be. So for those who have been with us, you know how we use that. So as long as price remains above the key level, we look out for patterns and structures that support the idea of buying. But if price drops below the key level, then at that point, we want to start considering selling that asset. Now, if you look at the structure here, you will see how the key level, hold on a second, I don't like the way these two trend lines are showing here. So let's me remove one and then go back to the 4 hours time frame. So you can see here on the 4 hours time frame, you see where the key level is. In fact, the key level has also been a major determinant of price action since the month of July, as you will see here. Now that price has broken out of that key level, we saw it break out of the key level last week Thursday. We saw price come back to retest the key level on Friday's session. Now the question is, will this be an uptrend continuation, considering the fact that price action has just broken out of that descending trend line? And of course, when we have a breakout of this descending trend line like this, it's a sign that price action the trend line may no longer have the capacity to continue to negate the bullish attempt. So if price remains above this key level and this trend line, we look out for buying opportunities. But if price breaks down the key level, then price will be back below the trend line, then selling opportunities will be reasonable at this point. So now that price is above that key level, let's scale down to the 1 hour time frame to see how participants in the market has been reacting to that area since the beginning of this week. So scaling down into the 1 hour time frame, this is what I was able to come up with this morning while trying to dissect the current market structure. Now, the first thing first here is this trend line, which I would like to emphasize here. So we have a trend line, which we're going to be using as a yardstick to guide our trading activities for today. So if price continue to respect the trend line and remain above the trend line, we shall look out for buying opportunities. So I would like to bolden it a little bit to emphasize its importance at this juncture. Then secondly, what I observed was this range where price action was caught within. That is between the 15,525 level and of course the 15,475 area to emphasize the level of indecision at this point in time. And you know how we do it whenever we have this kind of flat channel where price action, when the market is trapped within uncertainties, we want to wait patiently for either a breakout of that range to welcome buying opportunities or the breakdown of the range to welcome selling opportunities. Now let's talk about the potentials of buyers first of all. Now if you look at the structure since last week Thursday, you can see that price has been finding higher lows in this market, and that has led into this consistent and uniform higher lows within this range, as you will see here, until that breakout happened, which triggered my first buy position, and it appears selling pressures is beginning to come up again within the structure. Now there is a trend line here within that channel, which of course we shall be using to guide our decisions today too as well. So we have a trend line here. I will lighten this up a little bit. So now we have price above the structure. I told you I already bought, so I'm looking forward to more opportunities above the 15,550. Is it? I think 15,450 is, yes, 15,450. We already adjusted this on the higher time frame. Okay, so 15,450, please adjust that on your charts. So 15,450. So that is where I will be looking out for more buying opportunities in this market. And if price action continues to climb to find new highs, then the breakout of the 15,605 level will be welcoming more buying opportunities. So let me mark this one out to 15,605 level. Let's give that a blue color, and then that line to a blue color to differentiate it from the other levels we've identified here. So on the US Tech 100, I hold on to a bullish bias here as long as price remains above the 15,525 level, and if price continues to break out of the 15,450, we had more position. A further breakout of the 15,605 will welcome more opportunities here. However, if price action does not go in that direction, you know how we do it in this community. We don't keep all our eggs in one basket. We want to ensure that we are as dynamic as possible. We keep our mind as open as possible, as we all know that the financial market, the environment is a very fluid environment, and for us to be profitable, we want to flow with the momentum of the market. Now, if price action does not continue to the upside in this case scenario, and instead it continues to drop, then what do we want to see on this chart that will make us consider selling this asset? Now, remember I told you here that we have a trend line within the range that is between the 15,525 and the 15,475. Now, for me to sell at this point, I would want price to break down, in fact, break down the 15,475. Now, look at the 15,475 here. It also shares a confluence with that ascending trend line we identified on the higher time frame. Now, if price action breaks down both the 15,475 and that ascending trend line, then we want to be getting ready for a momentum shift. That is, price will be going to the downside. So a breakdown retest of that trend line and the 15,475 level will be welcoming buying opportunities. But one thing here is that we can actually capitalize on the selling opportunity even before the breakdown of the structures happen, so that we can maximize the potential of this move. Now, for me to sell and join before the breakdown happens, I would want to see price break down the 15,525 and of course that trend line there, then a retest of structure where continuous selling pressure persists below the 15,525. Then at that point, I want to start considering selling. Now, if that happens, remember I told you I was in a buy positions, I will just have no other choice than to close my positions manually while I try to ride this bearish momentum to the downside. So please note these levels out on your chart, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide your trading decisions for today. So this is what I will be looking out for on the US Tech 100 for today. So mark these levels out and let's see how the market will play out around this area. So these are my views here on the US Tech 100. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions before we move on to the next financial asset. All right. So I can see Kai in the house. Good morning to you, Kai, and glad to have you around. Well, I think this is my first time seeing your comment. If you are new, please let me know in the comment section. So Kai wants us to treat GBPUSD and EURUSD. So I'm going to be taking one from you. So we are going to be treating the GBPUSD next. So I hope you stay tuned in so that you don't miss that session. Then I can see your comment, Can2Z. Good morning to you, Can2Z. How are you doing today? And I'm glad you found the content beneficial. So in the absence of no questions, I will be moving right into the next financial asset. So the next financial asset on our watch list for today is the GBP USD, and I do hope that Kai is around. If you're around, please let me know in the comment section. So so far at this moment, I already have a buy position currently running on the GBP USD, but don't worry, I will be sharing with you how I got to that point and what led to the idea of buying this asset at this point in time, despite the impulsive bearish leg we saw here on last week Friday. So for us to have an holistic perspective into what is going on, we shall be scaling up into the higher time frame. And for those who have been with me on this asset, you will be familiar with this market structure on the higher time frame. And in fact, we've talked about in the past how the bullish momentum in this market is strong. In fact, price has been finding higher highs and higher lows since last quarter of last year to give us this beautiful uptrend. But that is not where our center of focus is going to be for this week. And our center of focus is going to be within the last 5 months. I think the last 4 months in this market, as you will see that since the month of May, the 1.26 level had been a major determinant of price action, as you will see here. And in fact, as a result of this, I'm going to be using the 1.2600 level or zone, let me say, as a yardstick to guide our trading activity for this week. Now, look at how price has reacted or related to that level since the month of May. See what happened here in the month of May. This area was a strong selling niche as we saw sellers come in at that point to push price to the downside. Then fast forward into the month of June, we saw a final breakout, retest of structure, and since that moment, price action had remained above that key level. And what does this simply tells us? It tells us that buyers, the presence of buyers around this area is very strong, as you will see how sellers have continued to find it difficult to break through the structure at every point in time. Price comes into that zone. We saw what happened here at the beginning of the month of August. Mid-August, we saw what happened here. And in fact, in the last couple of weeks, we have been noticing buy pressure around that area. Now, with this information we have gathered here, there's another pattern I was seeing on this structure that I would like us to take into consideration too as well. Now, if you look at what has been going on here since price action tested a new high at the 1.31400 level, we saw a nosedive in price action leading into lower highs in this market. And after connecting the series of lower highs, in fact, we have a couple of trend lines that emphasize the strength or the character of the sellers in this market. Now, despite the lower highs in this market, which has lasted about let's see, about 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks now, we are yet to see a lower high. So despite the fact we have despite the fact we have lower highs in this market, we are yet to see a lower low to confirm the strength of the sellers. As you will see, this level at the 1.2600 level had become a strong barrier for sellers in this market. Now that buttresses the importance of the 1.26 area. Now a pattern which I see here, which I would like to show you, is a reversal pattern in the form of an head and shoulder pattern. This is the left shoulder, this is the head, and of course we have the transition of the right shoulder, as you will see here. And of course, when we have such patterns identified on the chart, the next thing we want to be doing is to identify the neckline of that pattern, which of course will be helping us to validate the potency of that reversal pattern. So the neckline of this head and shoulder pattern falls exactly along that key level, which further emphasizes how important this level is. Now, for us to confirm and validate this reversal pattern, we want to see a breakdown of the support of this neckline, retest of structure to give us an opportunity to sell. So the only condition that will make us want to sell the GBP USD this week is for price action to break down that neckline, retest that structure, then we look out for opportunities to join that bearish move. But there's a caveat to this. If price still remains above that key level, then the tendency of a breakout of this descending trend line could incite an uptrend continuation. So now for us to take advantage of an opportunity right now, we need to scale down into a much more lower time frame so that we can see how participants in this market has been reacting to that key level at the 1.2600 area since the beginning of this week. And of course, this will help us guide our decisions for today. So in that regard, I will be scaling down right into the 1 hour time frame, and this is what I was able to come up with this morning while trying to decipher what our next line of action will be. So the first thing first here on the 1 hour time frame is that since last week Wednesday, we have lower highs here giving us a trend line to work with, as you will see right here. So that was the first structure I was able to spot right here. Then remember our key level, which is at the 1.26 area, and of course you know how we use our key levels in this community. As soon as price breaks out of the key level, retest it, we look out for buying opportunity, and that was what led to the idea of me buying the GBPUSD today. So my first buy position was triggered around this area. Then there is one more thing I added here, is this range between the 1.262100 level and the 1.25850. So this is where price started this week. We had buy pressure here before that resistant line was broken about 2 or 3 hours ago to welcome more buying opportunities for me. And for those who took advantage of this buy position, well done to you for being on standby to have capitalized on that move. Now, for those who missed out on this opportunity, it's okay. There is no cause for alarm. The week is still very early and there are still more chances to come in this market. And in fact, the bullish momentum we're witnessing here does not necessarily mean that price action will continue in that direction going forward. So we still need to be very, very careful, as the bullish traction is yet to solidify at this point. Not until we see the breakout of this descending trend line can we feel very comfortable in this buy position we are in right now. So for those who had missed out on this opportunity, how do we intend to be part of this bullish momentum if the uptrend continuation will be valid? Now, since we already have a breakout of 2 levels here, the first one, which is the key level at the 1.260, and of course the second one here is the 1.2620 level. In fact, if we go to as far back as the beginning of last week, we saw how that 1.26210 level was a buying niche at some point. You see, it was a buying niche at some point here before the level was broken to the downside. You see how important this level is based on this current structure. So since we have the breakout of the key level and that 1.26210, there are chances that price could still come back to retest either the 1.26210 level or the 1.260 area, where the appearance of buy pressure around the zone has a tendency of pushing price to the upside. So if selling opportunities come here, we don't want to panic. Let's ensure that we have enough room for price action to breathe. Your stop losses should be right way below the support line of that range at the 1.25850 level, so that we can give enough room for price action to play around before the uptrend continuation happen, if that is going to be the case in this market. Now, if the bullish momentum continues to the upside, we're also going to be using this descending trend line and a level here to guide our trading activity. So we have something around the 1.26550 area, 1.26550. So you do want to be marking out this level on your charts. So let's label this one right here, 1.26550 level, marked out on our charts. So you can see how that level has been a major determinant of price action since last week Tuesday. You can see how it was a buying niche here. It's a buyer's territory. We saw here buyer's territory, and of course buyer's territory around here before it was broken to the downside to negate the buyer's potential around that area. Now, if at any point today price climbs back up, breaks out of both the descending trend line and the 1.26550, then I'm of the opinion that we are back within the buyer's territory. And I want to be having a buy stop order above that area. And if price comes back to retest the structure, giving us more opportunities to join the uptrend continuation. Now, one thing about this buying opportunity we are taking advantage of here is this. As soon as price gets into this confluence where the descending trend line and the 1.26550 level meets, we want to ensure that we secure all our position, as it now depends on how price reacts to this confluence that will determine if we are going to be adding more buy position or getting ready to sell. Now remember that we have this impulsive bearish move right here, and this bullish momentum we are witnessing so far this week could turn out to be the retracement of that impulsive bearish leg to incite a downtrend continuation. So if at any point in time price gets into this area and we begin to see that buyers are finding it difficult to break out of that level with the appearance of certain pressure below the structure, then we want to be getting ready to sell the GBPUSD. Now, if price action does not get that far into the 1.26550 level and instead price drops significantly, breaking down the support line at the 1.25850, then I want to be looking out for selling opportunities here. So we must have been taken out from the buy position. A retest of structure will further confirm that we are good to be in a sell position here. So this is what we shall be looking at for today. So it's a simple setup. Our center of focus remains within the 1.26210 level and the 1.25850, where we shall be looking out for patterns and structures that will guide our decisions going forward. So you do want to be marking out those levels on your chart, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide your independent trading decisions for today. So if you have any questions as regards to the GBPUSD, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions whatsoever before we move right into the next financial assets on our watch list. All right. So in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page here. So we shall be moving right into the next financial asset on our watch list. In fact, we're already running out of time here. So let me run through this quickly so that we can all be prepared for at least 4 major assets for today's New York session. So the next financial asset on our watch list for today is my favorite, and that is the XAUUSD, popularly known as the gold spot. I'm yet to open a position on this asset so far as this week started, as I continue to monitor price action within a range. But before we go into the details here, I would like us to run through the higher time frame so that we can have an holistic perspective on what is going on in the market. Let us be on the same page together, so when I discuss here on the 1 hour time frame, you will understand better. So we shall be looking at the higher time frame right away. Now the first thing I did here was to scale up into the daily time frame, and for those who have been following me on the XAUUSD in the recent times, you will be familiar with the structure we have on the daily time frame. And of course, it is quite clear that price action has been bullish since the last quarter of last year. But that is not where our center of focus will be, as we shall be mainly focusing on the nature of price action since the month of March. And one thing you will notice here since the month of March is how the 1,900 and the 1,890 zone has been a strong buying niche in this market. Ever since price broke out of that structure in the month of March, we saw that every time price comes into that area, sellers have continued to struggle to break through that area. So buyers at every point in time come in to negate the potentials of the sellers. Now, in addition to that demand zone is the descending trend line you will see on your chart. Now, since price tested that new high at the $2,078 level after connecting the series of lower highs here, we have a trend line. Now, the trend line gives us an insight into the characters of sellers in this market, but we can't jump into conclusion that this is a strong bearish momentum. And the reason why that is simply because price is yet to find a lower low. So despite the lower highs here, just like what we had on the GBPUSD, you will see how the 1,900 and the 1,890 has been negating the potentials of sellers here. So the inability of sellers to break down the structure for me is a sign that we might likely be seeing a breakout of that descending trend line. But we are not jumping into conclusions here, as we still need to monitor and see how the market will be reacting to this trend line. Now, to guide our trading activities for this week, I have identified a key level that we shall be using to guide our trading activity, and that is that psychological level at the 1,950 area. Now, look at this 1,950 since the beginning of this year. Look at how that area had played a major role in determining how price action will be moving. Now, at the beginning of the year, we saw how that level was a strong selling niche at some point before price broke out of that structure here. As you will see, we saw the breakdown happen here after a long choppy scenario. The same choppy scenario also happened during the month of July, stroke the early days of the month of August before price broke down that structure. Now, during the course of last week's trading session, after that rejection of that demand zone here, we saw how price came back to close just exactly around the 1,950 level. Now, one interesting thing about the 1,950 level at this juncture, where price action closed last week, is the fact that it also shares a beautiful confluence with that descending trend line. So now the question going into the new week right now is, will price action break out of that descending trend line? Considering this demand zone we have been noticing here, will price break out of that descending trend line and the key level at the 1,950 to incite an uptrend continuation? That is one scenario we are going to be looking at in a moment. Or is price going to be respecting that trend line where continued selling pressure below the 1,950 will welcome selling opportunities that might likely break down the 1,900 for the first time this year to incite a sell-off? Now, to have a better perspective into what is going on here and how to position ourselves for today's trading session, we are going to be zooming right into that area around the 1,950 to see how the participant in this market will be reacting to that zone. Now, let's scale down into the 1 hour time frame to see how participants in this market has been reacting to the 1,950 since this new week began. Now, when we scale down into the 1 hour time frame, this is what I was able to come up with here. So while trying to dissect the structure, this is what I was able to find. Now, since the beginning of this week, though the week started on a strong bullish momentum, as you will see here, we saw price begin the week around the $1,939.50 level. We saw this engulfing bullish candle into the structure, and as soon as price tested the 1,946 level, we saw selling pressure come into that structure. Now, what this simply tells us is that there is an uncertainty in this market, as you will see that since the new week has begun, price has remained confined within the 1,946 and the $1,939.50 level to emphasize the level of indecision in this market. And you all know how we do it in this community. Whenever price action falls into a range such as what we have here, we want to exercise patience, waiting for a signal to come either in the form of a breakout of the resistance line to give us an opportunity to buy, or wait for the breakdown of the support line at the $1,939.50 level to look out for selling opportunity. And since none of these levels have been broken out of, we want to be exercising patience around this area. So we have a range where we are looking at right now. If price breaks down the $1,939.50 level, then we shall be looking out for selling opportunities here, while we shall be looking out for more opportunities to maximize this bearish momentum if price action goes on to break down the 1,935 level. So that is how we are going to be selling the XAUUSD today. So let's look out for selling opportunities as soon as price breaks down, retest the $1,939.50 level, then look out for more opportunities at the breakdown of the 1,935. Now, in as much as we're looking out for selling opportunities at this juncture, remember that we are not always putting our eggs in one basket. We want to be as dynamic as possible, have an open mindset in such a way that even if price does not follow through with our expectations, we are also ready to capitalize on the bullish momentum. Now, in this case scenario here, for us to consider buying, what is it that we want to see in this market that will make us consider buying this asset? Now, price is back into that support line. Remember, a level which has been a demand zone since the beginning of this week. This is where we saw those engulfing candles spring out of during the early hours of today. Now, if buy pressure resumes around this area, we might be seeing some buying opportunities above the $1,941.50 level. Now, let me zoom right in so that we can see things clearly here. Now, the reason why I have spotted the $1,941.50 level, this level right here, the reason why I have that level marked out on this chart is this. Now, if we look at the impulsive move that started on Friday, we saw this strong bearish momentum bringing price into the zone. We saw price come back into that $1,941.50 level. Then we saw price come back into the $1,939, giving us something that looks like a double bottom structure, which from a technical standpoint is a very strong reversal pattern. And you all know how we do it whenever we have this transition of price action. The next thing we want to be doing is to identify the neckline. Now, that is where the $1,941.50 level comes in. So we have the neckline of this double bottom structure along the $1,941.50 level. And of course, we saw the breakout of this neckline happen this morning. And in fact, a retest of that structure should be a good confirmation to join an uptrend continuation. The price action has broken that structure a little bit to the downside, but I'm of the opinion that if we have a situation where price climbs back above that level, where a retest of structure happens on our lower time frame, we want to be part of an uptrend scenario where a further continuation to the upside, breaking out of the resistance line at the $1,946 level, will be welcoming more buying opportunities. And if this continues to the upside, a further breakout of the 1,950 level will be welcoming more buy position. So this is how we are going to be managing our positions on the XAUUSD for today. It's a simple setup. Don't let us get it complicated. Our center of focus for today is simply between this range. So I would like to do a quick reference to the levels that we are going to be using to guide our trading activity. So the first one here is selling opportunities. Let's talk about the selling opportunities here. So if we are going to be selling the XAUUSD, we want to see the breakdown retest of the $1,939.50 level to capitalize on a selling opportunity. Now, if price continues to drop to the downside, then a breakdown retest of the 1,935 will be welcoming more selling opportunities. Now, if price action instead continues to the upside, and I told you that a breakout retest of this $1,941.50 level, I said something here. We had the reversal pattern like a double bottom structure here. Hold on a second. We had it right here, and we had the 1,941.50 as the neckline of that structure, where if price begin to fight by pressure around this area, we shall be joining an uptrend continuation. Now, if price goes on to break out of the 1,946, I said we shall be adding more buy positions, and a further breakout of the 1,950 will welcome more opportunities to buy. So these are my views here on the XAUUSD. It's a simple setup, so you do want to be marking out these levels on your chart, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide your independent trading decisions for today. So these are my views here on the XAUUSD. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to drop them in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions before we draw the curtain for today. All right, so I can see Kantuzi. Okay, I think I said that earlier, and I saw 799 here. Gold buy or sell. Well, I think I just deliberated on that shortly. I hope you were part of the session while I was explaining how to look out for buying opportunities and how to get ready to sell if the market breaks down the $1,939.50 level. So I hope you have marked out these levels on your chart, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide your independent trading decisions for today. So it's on this note I would like to call it a day here. It has been a wonderful moment in the last 1 hour, as we were able to take on 4 major financial assets for today. We took on the USOILSPOT, we took on the USTech100, popularly known as the NASDAQ, we took on the GBPUSD, the cable market, and of course the XAUUSD, popularly known as the gold spot. And in fact, we were able to identify simple setups using trend lines, key levels, and chart patterns to identify and position ourselves ahead of the New York session today. So I hope that we will be on standby to capitalize on these opportunities. And for those who are joining us for the first time, I do hope that you are able to gain 1 or 2 things from what we discussed here today. And in fact, I encourage you to be part of our subsequent editions of the Extreme Speed Live, as the more time you spend with us, the better you get in understanding how the strategy works, and eventually be able to use the information you gather here to make your own independent trading decisions. So I look forward to seeing you all same time tomorrow, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time, as we continue to monitor price action. Do have a wonderful evening, everyone. Bye-bye.